Hey, this is Mark Washington, MTC Media. As the NBA Summer League grabs everyone's attention, um, a lot of these players will end up in one of three places: either cut, overseas, NBA G League. Two out of three of those are not bad, but for those who end up in the NBA G League, I just don't want to hear the cries of, "Well, you should have stayed in college." The college is not the answer to ending up in the NBA G League. And this idea that somehow, some way, ending up in the G League is failure is a thought process that needs to stop. In fact, it's horribly inaccurate. Most players will end up playing in the NBA G League. This is where the NBA is going. And you know what? It's a good thing. What has happened is we have an unprecedented amount of depth in basketball globally. And the NBA is a global product. The idea of players going to the NBA G League prior to being in the NBA gives some sort of certainty to NBA GMs and presidents. And even though you might not care about their jobs, they care about keeping their jobs. For players, it gets them in a professional setting and playing the style that they're going to play in the NBA, which helps identify, am I an NBA player? Should I go overseas? Should I look to do something different? Because going overseas is also not a failure. So this idea that the NBA G League is some sort of thing that is an indictment on staying in college, by the way, a place that does not prepare you for the NBA. Remember now, a college coach's job is to make sure he stays employed. His job is not to make it to the NBA. The top players, they probably won't spend any time in the G League. Kate Cunningham is not going down to the G League. But what we're going to see increase is the fact that our definition of who are the top players. First round players should go down to the G League. You're outside of the first 7 or 8, going down to the G League to learn how to play this game, to give a roster spot to someone who might can contribute now while you're learning your craft and bring you up, again, isn't a bad thing. And what would staying an extra year in college do to help that? So the players now have to think of it this way. If I go and stay an extra year in college and I stay until I'm a senior, I'm 22 years old. Now I'm 22 years old going to the G League on the rookie contract instead of being 18, 19. On top of that, with the ages, you have to understand something. If you got to pay attention to how old these guys are. Chet Holmgren stayed 1 year at Gonzaga. Chet Holmgren is already 20 years old. This idea that freshmen are 17 and 18 aren't true when you have guys who reclass in 8th grade, some kids double reclass in 8th grade, guys who reclass up and down in high school. So these guys, when they're coming out to the pros, they're not these 17-year-old kids. Like I said, Holmgren is 20. And you're seeing that more and more. As a guy who coaches on one of the shoe tours, you see it more and more and more. These guys aren't the kids that you think that they are. They're actually older. And college, again, is a situation where players are manipulating their worth to get to the NBA as fast as possible. Case in point, let's look at Gigi Jackson. Gigi Jackson was supposed to go to North Carolina. Sometime this week, he's going to probably announce he's not going to North Carolina because he's going to reclass to the 22 class instead of being in the 23 class. North Carolina doesn't have any 22 class scholarships. Why would he do that? Of course, he can go to University of South Carolina, play for 1 year, get into the G League, and then go to the draft and then get into the G League. Or he could go to the G League now. Or he could go to Overtime Elite now. Kids have so many options. The G League is one of those options. It's not a failure thing. It is not a stay in college thing. It is where this industry is going. There is going to be multiple paths to the NBA, and that's not going to change, whether you like it or not. It's not the 1980s. And the G League being a legitimate development entity for the NBA is great for the sport. It's great for the league. And it should be normalized that unless you're one of the select few, that's where you're going to start. It's not a failure thing. It's I'm about to be a professional. I have to learn how to be a professional thing. And it's not something that the college game necessarily emulates more enough to necessarily say stay in college. Another example of that is Mac McClung. Mac McClung was going to have to make the transition to being a point guard if he wanted to play in the NBA. He didn't feel like he was going to get that opportunity at Georgetown. He goes to Texas Tech. Texas Tech gives him that opportunity. And where's Mac McClung? He's starting out learning how to be a professional point guard in the G League. I don't think that's a failure thing. That's not a stay in college thing. What, to transfer to another place to delay the inevitable? Are you kidding me? It's just a dumb business decision. You want to get through that rookie contract. This is one of the things about the NBA wanting to have cost certainty on rookie contracts. You want to get to that rookie contract. That's fine and all, but players want to get to that rookie contract now as young as possible because they know the value is in the extension to the second contract. That's where the value is. That means going to the NBA G League. Then that means going to the NBA G League at 19 instead of going to the NBA G League at 22. It's common sense, guys. So start with this NBA G League. If you go to the G League, oh my gosh, you should stay in college. Why? To be put behind the eight ball even more, to get to the rookie sliding scale even later, to go to the G League, which is now becoming so much more competitive. Nah, these kids are doing the right thing. The person who has the problem are the people out here who constantly want to look at the NBA G League for what they want it to be instead of the NBA G League for what it is. All you guys out there, keep making these great decisions. Get to G, learn how to be a craft, how to do your craft. Get to the NBA. It's Marcus Washington from MTC.